It's my daughter.
Oh.
Yeah. She's sarcastic like that sometimes. But we love her for it.
Yeah.
Tripping, man.
Yeah.
Really tripping.
Fashionably late, y'all know me.
Yeah. Gotta make an entrance, huh?
No.
Yeah. Yes, you do. Tell the truth. All right.
We on? We up?
Yeah, we live.
We good?
Yeah, we live everywhere.
All right. Thank you guys for joining the portal. And as usual, he's Baldwin.
My name is Ronell Baldwin.
He's Baldwin and I'm Creech. And you guys have joined us on what we like to call the portal. And this is what we decided to do. It's kind of like our introduction into...
we like to taste things. So we try something different, something, more engaging. Normally we record shows and put them out there. But this time, we decided to go live. We've been live before, but nothing like we decided to go live today. So we just want to try something new, to taste something different, and just to see, what type of impact it may have out there. So welcome to the portal, and I guess we can go ahead and get started. It's already past 9 o'clock.
Yeah, this is kind of our prelude to our podcast. So it's kind of our prelude to that. So, what we came up with this time around was we wanted to talk about manhood versus being a man, which for some people I think they get it confused, and we'll start with manhood. When we think about manhood, when you talk about manhood, you're really talking about something that's a stage in life.
Right.
It doesn't take anything to actually get your manhood except to get older. A lot of people have changed that around from that stage in life to, it's kind of more, it's connected more with bravado. In order to get your manhood, so to speak, there's certain things that they're supposed to be acceptable, such as things of, how strong you are. Can you fight? How you carry yourself if you live in a poverty-stricken area in terms of, how good are you on the block, so to speak. So things of that nature have started to become the norm or the term that defines what manhood is, which that's not what it was, essentially meant for in the first place.
Yeah. I don't know. Just to give it a little more value, add to what Terrence just said. At a base level, just a basic instinct level, a man. You come out. You have genders. You have male and you have female. There are very distinct differences between us. And the way we handle things and the way we go about things is completely different. Traditionally, a male, he's the one that goes out in the woods and, forages for the food and, brings the food home to take care of the female, the children, out there. Traditionally that's how that was looked upon and how that worked. I know in today's society there's been some social shifts to that, but that doesn't take away from a man doing the things that a man should normally do anyway. So you have to put yourself in a position to take ownership of what's going on around you, and that's basically what a man does. He takes ownership of that, and he takes care and he handles his business. So I don't know.
Yeah, you hit it dead on. But this whole understanding of what manhood is and having to prove your manhood has really put a very big shift in our society. When you look at these younger guys out here and some of the things that they get themselves into, sometimes they're looking for a family of their own in terms of the streets and in terms of gangs. And so a lot of times when you're trying to find that accepted or trying to be accepted, you find yourself out there looking in the wrong places, and in order to be accepted, you have to prove your manhood. And
I'll even go a step further. you know, when Terrence said a little while ago that, you know, did you say something about the ego or something like that as far as
bravado?
The bravado of it. Now, that's not to say that a man can't have feelings. He can't be compassionate. He can't care, and he can't come down, you know, to that type of level. I mean,
truthfully, that's what a man is.
Well, right.
That's
exactly.
part of what a man is.
Exactly. But I don't want him to get it misconstrued that you have to be, you know, all of this all the time. You know, there's so many different levels how you can approach this thing. And, you know, the wise person would, you know, take heed and try to experience, you know, all the levels. It's not going to be perfect every time, but, you know, you go through it, you learn a little bit, and you adjust accordingly to that experience or that situation that's going on. You had a thought?
No, go. Keep going.
No, that's it. I mean, I just want to you something jumped in my mind when you said that. You know, I was like, okay, you know, that is important. But yeah, I mean, being, you know, having that that emotional intelligence. I guess that's the word that I was kind of looking for. And depending on the situation. Mm-hmm. Now there could be other situations that, you know, may require a little more heavy-handed usage. Let's say, for example, I think we talked about this before, a situation where, what was it? A child. I think it was something they're dealing with a child. It was a child in came up to you, and well, it's your child. Your child runs home and says, "Oh, X, Y, and Z, somebody jumped on me." Remember we talked about that?
Yeah. That was you go out and having, you know, one of your kids running to you and saying that, you know, an older person, you know, put their hands on you, and of course, that's what it was. You rush off into judgment, and of course, that's, as a parent, the first thing you want to do is always protect your kids. But we have to understand and realize sometimes, you know, when we're dealing with kids, they're not always going to tell you the truth.
Right.
I mean, that's just the reality of it. And so when you're doing that, you have to make sure you're doing your due diligence and make sure that you understand what the whole situation is about. Because if your child is in the wrong, and then you go, you know, make the situation worse by, you know, exerting your bravado, especially as men, you know, we're definitely going to protect our kids, you know, we're going to protect our daughters, of course. So when we go, you know, to approach this situation, we have to make sure that we're looking at this situation as an adult and as a parent, instead of rushing to judgment and then taking this whole thing to a whole nother level where you start to get things, you know, you go into a violent, you know, situation that you shouldn't be in because your child, you know, told you something that was incorrect. So that's also a part of being a man, is to understand that there are different things that you're going to have to do, and there are going to be certain situations where you have to change who you normally may be. That doesn't mean you're less of a person, less of a man, but that just means sometimes certain situations call for certain actions, and sometimes they call for you to not take action, as a matter of fact. Yeah,
and I'm gonna get to a little. I'm gonna go to a different area as far as the manhood thing. Let's take the home for example. What does a man do around the home? Is he an inside person? Is he an outside person? I kind of recently experienced, you know what I'm talking about? Because there are some men, and I welcome some feedback on this. There are some men out there. They don't like to get their hands dirty. Is he any less of a man? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't care to get my hands dirty. That's just
okay, me. We got one right beside us. Okay.
That's just me. It's not that I won't. I mean, plenty of people see me in the yard. It's just not my thing. It's never been my thing. I've never really cared for yard work. I'll do it. I don't have a problem with it. But it's not my thing. If people, some people say it's relaxing to me. I can figure it.
Well, see, that's me. That's me.
I don't mind getting out there and getting my hands dirty. I can think of a whole lot of things to do that relax me, other than go out there, pull up some weeds, and chop down a tree.
But it's therapy. Oh, well, okay. I'm only speaking from just my, this is just my opinion. I mean, you're out there, you're milling around. It's almost like driving in your car, and you turn the radio off, and you're going on a long drive, and you sit there, and your mind is just you're just thinking about things. You're just going over things, and it's just like a certain type of peace.
Does that require an axe?
I'm just saying, it's the equivalent of it. It's like the same. You get out there and you by yourself.
That ain't the same.
It is the same. It's the same thing.
That's hardcore manual labor, boy. You get out there with a tree. I mean, with an axe and try to chop a tree. Try to tell me that's the same as just cruising in your car.
Look, I was out there the other day, this past weekend. I was cutting trees with my chainsaw, and I was out there by myself. The buzzing, it was just like a static. I'm just, have my stuff. Hey, it's therapeutic.
You were cutting trees with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Now get out there and cut that same tree with an axe and talk to me.
Well, I don't want to work that daggone hard.
Exactly.
Because that's a different level.
Exactly.
That's a different level. But, I just want to bring that up. There are two sides to that. I mean, it may be even a third side to it. I don't know. We can explore that. But yeah, some people like to get their hands dirty. Some people don't. But that doesn't make you any less of a man. That's the point that I was trying to make.
Right. The whole point of being a man, it's a lot that comes with that, and there's no guide to it. There's no certain way to be a man. There's no certain key points of being a man, except for understanding that you have a responsibility in certain situations. So, you can look up the word man. You can look up the word manhood. You can try to do it definition wise, but the reality is, it's just like when you have a child, so to speak. There's no real guide to raising your child. There's no real guide to really becoming a man except going through the stages of it. And when you're becoming a man, you'll know it because you're looking at situations a lot differently than you used to. I had to when I look back on myself, I can see the progression and the growth that I had from, the little wild child to understanding there's certain things I can't do, certain things I shouldn't do, and certain things that I won't do anymore.
You a wild child?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And let's talk about that for a second. Yeah. I mean, what gets you to that stage to be a man? I mean, like Terrence just said, he was a wild child. I think all of us were kind of a little wild. We get out there, kids, we don't know very much. You're growing up through life, you're having all these experiences, and you smile.
No, I'm smiling at Pretty Brown Rounds over there on Instagram. So I'm smiling.
What are they talking about?
Oh, she let me know that if you acquire property that needs work, someone has to get out there and do that, which is true. I agree.
Yeah, but he's not gonna get out there and do that. He's gonna pay somebody to go out there and do it.
No, I have gotten out there many times because I'm one of those people. Now, when it comes to that situation, if it's something that I can do, I'd rather do it myself than, to spend that money on it because I can use that money for stuff that I don't know how to do. So going back to what I've said, it's not that I won't get out there. It's not that I won't get my hands dirty. It's just that I don't like to. So there's a difference. I'll do it, but I don't like to. Why should I like to do something that basically, I don't like to chop wood. At times you have to do that. Yes, I have a chainsaw, but sometimes you can't use a chainsaw. So it's just different things about it. I don't mind cutting the grass. That's not a big deal to me. But the other part, it's just not my thing. It's your thing. So
I heard through the grapevine that there's something sexy about a man that likes to get his hands dirty.
Well, I can tell you like this.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah, I can tell you like
think about that.
I can tell you like this. Find something else that you find sexy, and then maybe I can classify in that area. But as far as getting my hands dirty, you'll see me get my hands dirty. But
check this out.
Matter of fact,
what?
Let's go back.
Okay.
You remember when we first bought the house?
Uh-huh.
Me and you were back there in the woods. That's when you got poison ivy.
Yeah, I did get poison
ivy.
See
what I'm saying?
He
back there. He helping me out in the back in the woods. He get poison ivy. See, those are the things I don't like about the woods. I don't like about getting out there doing yard work. But
hey, I mean, it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things.
So that's my part. He been my boy for a minute. He got poison ivy for your boy. So
it is what it is.
It is what it
is. It is what it is. What about cooking? Do you think that cooking is something that's, a woman should do versus what a man should do? What do you think about that? I mean, I don't know. How you feel about it?
Well, people can say what they want. I love to cook. See, that's the difference. See, I don't like doing yard work, but I love to cook.
Right. I was talking the other day. I went to the herb shop the other day, and the lady in there told me that, I don't even know how we got on the topic, but I think there's a statistic out there. The majority of the chefs in the world are men. I could see that. I mean, I hadn't really thought about it.
Yeah, I never thought about it.
Yeah. But, I mean, I guess, men like to eat. So, I like to eat. So if I like to eat, I like my food to be a certain way. So if you can't get my food a certain way, I just as well do it my daggone self. I mean, I cook too. I like cooking.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy cooking because, first of all, I like the end result. I get to try some new things, change up the palate a little bit. So I enjoy cooking. And I mean, I come from a family of women that taught me how to cook. So for me, I mean, it came natural. But I also came from, men that taught me how to get out in the tobacco field and prime tobacco. So, I mean, I've been out there in the field doing that too. Right. So it's not, like I said, again, don't get it twisted. It's not that I won't get my hands dirty. It's just I'm a dude that I don't enjoy it. It ain't my thing.
Right.
But things have to get done. I get them done. So I don't worry about that. So, yeah. But cooking, I mean.
Okay. What about sewing?
I don't sew.
I sew.
I mean, I mean, I can put a hem in a pair of pants, but I don't really sew. So I need to learn how to sew, to be honest with you, because my tailor gets a lot of money off me.
Yeah.
I need to definitely learn how to sew.
Yeah. So I mean, we just touching on points here and there. I don't think that anything, especially nowadays, because it's such a change now. I mean, things aren't like they used to be. I think almost anything, to a degree, is acceptable from a male, point of view. What puts him in a position to be a man. I mean, the topic, and I know we talked about this briefly. Are we touching on enough of that as far as the manhood part versus being a man?
Well, I'll go back to the manhood part.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
I mean, again, if you really want to take it from the basis, manhood is something that you achieve just by getting older. It's no different than womanhood for a woman. They get to a certain age, they start they get their menstrual cycle, and for the most part, that introduces them into womanhood. Does that make them a woman? No.
No.
Same thing with a man. You get to a certain age and you become, you start to smell yourself, as the older generation used to say, which means you hit puberty and you start to go through changes, your voice and your body. That doesn't make you a man. That just makes you someone that's going into manhood. So when you get into those stages of life, I guess it's more like the blessing of getting older, so to speak. But at the same time, you can't expect, because you're starting to see manhood or womanhood, that you're ready for the total effect of what it is to be a man or what it is to be a woman. There's so much to that goes with being a man. There's so much that goes with being a woman. I know the subject is manhood versus womanhood. Manhood versus
being a
man.
Right.
But I mean, that also applies for women too. It doesn't, getting to the stage of manhood and getting to the stage of womanhood is something. It's almost a rite of passage just because you get older. But when you get to those points, that's what determines, and it sees you through what kind of, maybe we should have renamed it a little bit. I hate to go with the real man, status, because who gets to...
Well, I was just thinking. Keep that thought. I was just thinking. So when do they know? How do you know?
How do you know what?
How do you know you're a man versus moving from manhood and being a man? How do you know? How do you know you crossed that stage? Like you just mentioned, a woman getting a period, but that doesn't make her a woman. So when do you know that you are in that position to call yourself a man?
When you're not thinking about it. When you start to make the right decisions that a man would make in terms of your life choices, when you become self-sufficient, in other words, when you decide what course in life you're going to take. Everybody's not going to go to college.
Right.
So let's get that out there. Everybody doesn't want to go to college. So when you figure out your path in life, you start to move into that path. You start to succeed or excel, or at least find your own way. when one of the small things I like to say, and I've heard, older generation say it all the time, when you get out your parents' pockets, those things start to lead you to that whole man or that whole woman, because now you're self-sufficient. You're taking care of yourself. Now, there are certain, extenuating circumstances where things aren't, that cut and dry. But at the same time, when you're talking about, wanting to be this man and you're sticking your chest out and, you're running around telling people I'm grown, what are you doing to personify that fact that you are grown? Are you taking care of your business? That means, do you have a job? If you're not going to school, you need to have a job. So are you doing that? If you are in school, are you taking it serious? Making sure that that your grades are tight. Making sure that every opportunity that's afforded to you, you're taking advantage of. And anything, and that goes male or female. So these are the things that, to me, they lead you to being a man. They lead you to being a woman. But they don't. It doesn't stop there.
I think you make a good point though. Just doing the things without thinking about doing them, and I think that's very, very true. I mean, a man, he'll see something that needs to be done. I mean, he doesn't have to be told that needs to happen. He takes care of it, And I think that's one of the pivotal things that characterizes what a real man is. I mean, he can pick up on the nuances of a room when he walks into it, or a situation, and he can adjust himself accordingly. So, I mean, you think that? How you feel about that? Is that agreeable?
Yeah, and Pretty Brown Rounds up there makes a good point in the fact that, of course, in case you guys don't know, we're on Instagram, Facebook, and we're also on YouTube. So we're looking at a lot of different things at one time. So, but she makes a very good point, because it is true that the gender roles have changed a lot. So it's no one specific thing, and I totally agree. So that's why I say there's so many different things that take you into being a man that are ongoing. They're progressive. It's not, I did this one thing and I'm a man now. It doesn't work that way. It's ongoing. When you start to have kids, where are you in that position? Are you being a father? And I know there's so many different circumstances where we can talk about. That's a whole nother broadcast as to how that works with, parents and when they don't get along and all these different things. So the biggest thing that I say when we're talking about being a parent is your willingness and your effort in being a parent. So if you're allowed to be a parent and you have the opportunity to be a parent, what's your effort like? Where are you in terms of, recitals and dances and all this other stuff? These are things that, that the kids need. This ain't about, you being a parent, and if you're a part, it's not about that part. It's about, the child's needs. So are you basically making sure your child's needs are met? Sometimes it's not that easy. I get that. Again, that's a part of being a man, understanding exactly how that works and finding your way through that. We will all go through things, man, woman, no matter, it's two genders. And, let me rephrase that. I'll just say man, woman, and everything else, because I don't want to call anybody out of anything, incorrectly. But, that's how we're brought into this world, man or woman, and everything else. I have no problem. I understand that emotions and the way that you feel and the way that you have to move in life, your heart and your soul, or however you put it, that's what takes you to be whatever you choose to be. But when we're born as men and women, and the most important thing to that is, as you continue to move through life, you have to start finding your way and be, I guess the best way I can say it, you have to be open to know that there's no one thing, especially as a parent, there's no one thing that's going to make you a man, just like one thing doesn't really make you a true good parent. Having kids, pretty much makes you a mother or a father.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily make you a good parent, because if you're not doing the things that you're supposed to do.
Perfect.
It's the same thing as being a man or being a woman. These things require effort, and it requires a continuous effort.
Exactly.
So you're not a man on Monday, and then say, well, I made it. I'm good. It doesn't work that way. So it's an ongoing thing. And, when I was talking about going back briefly, some people have the label of a good man or a real man and all these things. That's subjective to whatever other people think. But the truth is, when you have people calling you a good man or a real man, then you know you're probably on to something. That's not what we shoot for, but then you kind of know you're on to something, especially if somebody feels like you're trustworthy, that you look out for them. That's a good trait to have as a person, not just as a man, but as a person.
Well, let me ask. Let's talk about this then. What about a man in the surrounding of other men? That dynamic. How do you feel about that?
The great thing for me, I'll say this, and I'm happy to say this for everybody that's tuning in on this. I've been blessed to be surrounded with a group of men that have helped me grow into becoming, the best man that I can be. Not to stop there, but to grow. The friends that we've made and that I've made, starting from high school, going into college, North Carolina A&T, Aggie Pride. See you back here in the ATL for the championship game. Mm-hmm. But the friends that I've been able to make, and that goes to really understanding that it's important to surround yourself with people that have some type like-mindedness of yours. They're looking to do something better. They're looking to achieve. They're looking to have, to have a better life, basically. So when you do that, that brotherhood, trust me, is a bond that'll last. I have certain brothers that I've been, and I can say brother to them now because I've been with these guys over 20 years. Right. Of course, you're one of them. That's how this spawned, over a course of years, having conversations about really wanting to do something better, right. Wanting to be better men. Those things are very important in your maturation in terms of being a man. Having good brothers around you, it's important, especially when you go off to college. It's great to go to college and have a lot of fun, but it's also good to find those brothers who will push you, who will make you better, who will ask you to be better, just like they want to be.
And it's so important, especially coming from the direction of life that, Terrence and I share something that's in common. We grew up in single-parent households. Mm-hmm. And, if it wasn't for the people that surrounded us, grooming us, giving us that good knowledge, putting it up here, and sometimes they put it down here. Yeah. It's serious. It's serious. Man. Back to that wild side again. It can get out of hand. Sometimes someone's got to put you back in line and show you, hey, you're going the wrong way. You're getting off the path. Really. So it's a blessing, and it's great, to have these type of people in your life. I mean, it puts things into perspective, especially after over the years. I mean, you reach a point in life to where you look back and you start, man, I see what's going on now. Man, I understand that. Wow, I get it. All those talking and those lessons, and they just start to come together. They start to come together. They start to mesh, and then you reach a point. I mean, me personally, and I'm gonna just speak from for me because I can do that. You reach a point in your life, and I can't. It just kind of just came one day, and it just like meshed all together. I was like, man, I get it. I understand all of. I just get it. I get it. And at that point, I mean, it was really no looking back. There was no looking back. I just, you just understand. I mean, there's a lot of confusion. Because I was actually having a conversation with Terrence the other day, and our phones got cut off, so I don't know if he hered the whole conversation. Look,
I gotta tell this part though.
Go ahead.
So we have the conversation. I'm on my way, so we can do what we do. You know what I mean? So I'm on the phone. I'm driving or whatever, and so I said something, and then the phone went dead. So about normally he'll call right back. So I tried to call him, and then he didn't pick up. So about 6 minutes went by. Phone rang. He calls me back. Hey man, how much did you hear?
Man, I was spitting that fire.
And that's exactly what he said. He was like,
fire,
man. I was spitting that
crazy.
Fire. I wish I had taped that, man. I should have taped that.
It was so good. It was so good. It was just flowing. The knowledge was just, it was.
Look, I felt so bad because I ain't heard none of that. I've heard none of that. So I was like, dang, I might have missed.
Crazy.
Look, I might have missed some knowledge.
Man, I'm just trying to share.
In case y'all don't know, me and this brother, we have a whole lot of conversations, man. I mean, not just business-wise, but sometimes it's personal. You know, we need to, bounce stuff off each other. So we have a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
So...
But yeah, back to that. I don't even know where I was going with that. I was going to tell you guys something. I forgot. I lost my train of thought.
Oh, man.
But I'm just saying. Back to the meshing, and it comes all together, and having the people surrounding you, to give you this good advice, because we can even at this point of our lives, having all that experience, having that wisdom. We can still get off the path. So it's good to have someone, like Terrence said, to bounce, an ideal or a certain situation that you may be going through to give it a little bit more perspective. It broadens that field of what could be. I mean, should I go right? Should I go left? Everyone needs someone to talk to. I mean, we're social creatures. We don't do anything alone for the most part. I mean, even though, working out there in that yard and, being by yourself is a great thing, it's very peaceful. But hey, we need each other. We really do. We need each other. And as men, back to the men, because we are not off topic. We still talking about man and manhood. It's okay. It's okay, the camaraderie and talk to your brothers and share. And it's okay to be emotional. Me and Terrence had a conversation about love one time. He probably don't even remember. This was years ago.
I remember.
About love.
Dion, I see you, and I agree. Go ahead. I'm going to get back to you, Dion. Go ahead.
We talked about love and what love really is and how it affects you in life. And listen, y'all, I don't know if y'all know about the statistic, but do you know one of the biggest killers in the daggone world, statistically, love kills. People do all types of crazy stuff when they fall in for love. For love. It's serious. And when you have something that's that serious, trust me, you don't want to go at it alone if you get off the beaten path. You need someone to talk to. And that's where that camaraderie and that manhood and that brotherly love comes into place, and you get together and you socialize with whoever's in your circle to bring some type of relevance and some type of peace to that situation, so we don't go out there and make foolish mistakes, because it's easy. It's very easy to get into those traps, and hey, it's hard as hell to get out of. I'm gonna just tell you.
Yeah, Dion makes a good point, man. As we grow older as people. And hopefully that IG went down for a second. But as we grow older as people, we start to formulate new ways of doing things. We back up on IG. All right. Sorry, we had a pause there. But as I was saying, as we grow older, we start to see things a little bit differently. And some of the friends and some of the people that we normally connect with or do things with, we start to separate a little bit. Has nothing to do with not loving them anymore. Has nothing to do with, feeling like they're bad people. But you start to put yourself in other surroundings. You start to look at things a little differently. You start to go places that, you normally wouldn't go, because you're looking for new opportunities and you're trying to brighten your horizons, where you have friends that they're used to something and that's good enough and they're good with that. So when you start to brighten your horizons and move a little bit, start to grow a little bit in other areas, it's not that you're looking at these people and saying, you're not good enough anymore, or you're bad people, or I can't really, I really can't connect with you anymore. It's more like saying, I'm trying some new things, I'm growing in some new areas, and as I grow in these new areas, I still have friends that don't do certain things that I do. You know what I mean? I have friends that don't go places that I would go. They're not into art. You know, I don't go to an art museum all the time, but I love art.
Me too,
you
man.
know, I love that.
I love it.
For you guys who don't know, I'm also a photographer. So I love art. I love to create art. But as Dion said, just because you start to grow in different directions and do different things, it has nothing to do with you thinking people are bad people. The brotherhood that you create.
You know what? That is a good point. Keep talking. Yeah, that's a good point, Dion. I'm glad you said that. Go ahead.
But the brotherhood that you truly create, if it's a true brotherhood, as you go off in life and do different things, you'll still have that brotherhood.
Right.
You know what I mean? It'll come back in different ways, in different spaces.
And that doesn't mean that you snobby or you looking down on other people. It has nothing to do with that.
Right.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all. But go ahead. Keep going.
I mean, that was it. I wanted to touch base on what Dion said, because I think it's important. I think because we all go through that. You know, from a transition of high school to college. If you go to college, some people, again, they don't go to college. Has nothing to do with whether you being good or bad.
It doesn't make you any less of a person or anything. So I don't go there with that.
There's plenty of millionaires and plenty of business owners who never went to college.
Never.
So I have an affinity for whoever's successful in terms of whatever you choose to do in your life. My goal or my prayer or my hopes for you is that you're just successful in it, and it's a positive thing. But when we really look at the stages between high school and as you start to grow, you're going to change, because now you're all, you've been in high school with most people for, a cluster of time, 4 years, 3 years, whatever it'll be. Then once you move off, now you start to move into your own life. Most of the time, you don't go there with a bunch of people. You kind of go off. Some of you say, you go to college together or whatever, but you go off on your own journey and you start to meet new people.
True.
But that doesn't change, how you feel about, the people that you went to high school with. I reconnected with quite a few of my high school friends when I went back home. And, we have a ball. And it wasn't that we didn't, have any love for each other or anything like that. It was simple. They went a direction, I went a direction, and until those paths meet again, it is, it's going to be what it is. And a lot of times when you get older, that's when your paths start to reconnect, because now you start to, really, look back on your life, and you go back home, and you can kind of connect with your people again.
Yeah, you kind of figure things out to a degree. Once you start to figure these things out, I mean, it makes it easier to talk to people. You can get on a level, about things. And then a lot of times, life is not so chaotic where you can't share life experiences. People overlap in life experiences. I mean, the same thing that's happening to me it probably happened to you too at some point in your life, or a variation of it. And we can get together and we can talk about it and we can share. And maybe we'll learn something at the end of the day. I'm all about that. I mean, if I can learn something new, one thing every day, I feel like I've succeeded in some type of way. But who's that right there?
Artie Curry.
Yeah,
that's Dion.
Oh, that's Dion.
Yeah. But yeah, the other thing I want to say, in being a man, brotherhood is very important. Some folks may not agree with that, but I'm a true believer in brotherhood. When you find good brothers that can, relate to you and give you good advice and try to look out for you in all situations, even when you're wrong, and they tell you you're wrong, that to me is true brotherhood. A true brother will always tell you the real. They may not want to. Right. They don't enjoy it, but they will give you the real information. They'll tell you, hey, you messing up. That ain't right. You shouldn't do that. That's, I can't see why you would take that chance with your life. Whatever the case may be, a true brother is going to tell you that. That to me is still part of being a man. A true man is going to tell you, hey, bro, that's not the way to go. And if you have that opportunity to have good brothers in your life, make sure that you don't lose that. Keep that bond going, because as you have kids,